Alright, today I'm going to try something different. Most of you that are watching this video are probably familiar with my show, How to Do Linux. That's basically just a how-to show, tutorials, reviews, and things along those lines about Linux. I'm going to start a new show that's not necessarily exactly a new show, but it's a sub-show off of How to Do Linux, and it's going to be called Linux Verbose, which basically means I'm going to sit and talk for a good half an hour about a Linux distro. I'm just going to pick one at random and roll with it, and just as the word flow strikes me, fly through and just talk about different features of the distro. It's not necessarily a review, it's longer than a review, but it's just me talking about the distro and running you through some simple stuff and just getting down with the different distros. This time on Linux Verbose, we're going to be looking at Voyager Linux right now on How to Do Linux, Linux Verbose. Alrighty guys, how's it going? Welcome back to How to Do Linux. As I said in the intro, we are talking about an interesting distribution today called Voyager Linux. One of the interesting things about Voyager Linux is that it's a French distribution. One of the other popular French distributions out there is Pear Linux. I know a lot of people use that when they want a Mac-like experience, but Voyager Linux aims to be sort of a all-inclusive sort of an operating system. It comes standard with Xfce, and I have tweaked this. I've tweaked it quite a bit actually, but it's not too far away from what it would look like when you get the system standard. One of the things that I did was I replaced the plank dock with the docky dock. Plank is just too simplistic. It doesn't allow me to edit the settings. It doesn't allow me to edit the settings like I would want to with a dock. It's essentially just a dock that, I mean, there's not really any drag and drop capability. You have to select the application while it's open and say pin this to the dock and other things like that. So that kind of frustrated me. Also, this little conky setup here is kind of interesting. I believe this is also conky over here. Conky is a little bit difficult to read on some of the wallpapers, which we'll get into the wallpapers a little later. But conky can be a little bit difficult to read. I haven't found the settings manager on conky in this operating system yet. I'm sure there is one somewhere, but some of the stuff is a little difficult to find. But once you do find it, it's quite the nice little operating system. Here we have the time, the date, the memory that I'm using, the hard drive that I'm using, the CPU usage that I'm using, and the CPU that I have, and Wi-Fi information. This over here tells me which desktop I'm on, desktop 1, so you notice it's the first bubble. If I click 2, it switches to the second one, 3, and then 4. That's what those do. Up on the top here we have log out, shut down, suspend, and switch user right up here. This initially came with a little menu with your name on it. You click on the menu and it's a drop down with all of these things located within the menu. I was not a big fan of this. I prefer just buttons, so I put the buttons there and I'm just fine. Here we have forecast. I don't have it set up, so it says data unavailable. Once you get it set up, that is a very useful little tool to have on your little taskbar here. I can imagine that being quite useful. You've got your time. This is an email client here. I'm not sure exactly which one. Mail Watcher. I believe that's a widget or not a widget, but an add-on that you can get to the Xfce panel. That is a little program that comes that you can just install with Xfce, and it's similar to Thunderbird that manages your mail without you actually having to go to the website. But that's a nifty little tool. This is really nice. Dropbox installs flawlessly on Voyager Linux, and this is because Voyager Linux is based entirely upon Ubuntu. This one is based on Ubuntu 13.10. It's just gussied up a little bit, makes it look a little better. And so far, I mean, once you get the hang of the operating system, it's really quite nice. You just have to go out of your way to find some stuff. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for new users, but people that like to toy around and experiment, like myself, would find this to be kind of fun to use, kind of fun to adjust. And some of the interesting features that they come with that I'm going to cover. It's a nice little operating system. But here we have Bluetooth settings, and this is France. Oh yes, this is this is a radio. This is a radio application. I got you. You can set up different playlists. And you can listen to the playlist with different radio tools that you can use to play your favorite music and whatever genre that might be. Play it right through that little tool. This, of course, is your Wi-Fi manager. Pretty self-explanatory. The volume control. I did find that the only way that you can adjust sound settings in this operating system, which is a little inconvenient but at the same time completely manageable, is to click on the volume button and go to sound settings. It's the only way to do it. Like I said, that's a little inconvenient, but once you know it's there, it's not too bad to just go click on it. This is your battery. If you are on a laptop like I am, this will tell you how much battery life you have. This will tell you your mouse and keyboard information, the battery. This, of course, is going to tell me that my battery is low even though it's not, and that just happens with all the Linux distros because of the weird keyboard setups that I have, but let's not go into that. These two things are my screencasting, which is really nice, by Vocho Screen. Vocho Screen comes standard installed with this, which I was really impressed with. I have never seen Linux distro ship with a third-party screen recorder. I know GNOME 3 has an option where if you hit Control-Alt-Shift-R or something like that, it will record, but it doesn't have sound capability. There are lots of them out there. This one so far has been the most cooperative, and it came standard installed with Voyager Linux. I was very pleased with that. Excuse me. This here is Synapse. Of course, the description is in French because they forgot to translate it, but it's a lot like Spotlight in macOS. Actually, click on it and you search applications, audio, actions, different things like that. You can search things, and yeah, like I said, it's a lot like Spotlight. Just search your computer for stuff. Over here, these are actually the applications that I have open. Anything on the right side of this little separator here are applications that I have open, because he does have a window list set up where an icon pops up if you have a window open. So I can collect any one of those, or select any one of these things and pull them up. I do also have them highlighted down here as being open, so that's kind of nifty. I've got my terminal there. I put that there so that I don't have to, go into my menu and find it. This is your navigator to different, your home folder and your Dropbox and all that stuff. That's right here. I prefer to just use the Thunar web manager. It comes with it. Just click on it and browse. But if you're more into going straight to where you want to go, then that's perfectly fine too. Now, one of the big things that I changed was this ships with the standard Xfce menu, and I am not at all a big fan of the Xfce menu. Let me just show you what that looks like. Let me just applications menu. We'll add that. Excuse me. right there. That's what it looks like. It is just this icon, though. I mean, it's not going to be this big. It doesn't say applications menu. It looks exactly like this, except when you click on it, it does this. And it's really quite, I've always found it quite old-fashioned looking, a little bit too Windows 95 for me, a little bit too Windows 90, 95, 98 for me. It did bugs the crap out of me, so I just decided to remove that and install the whisker menu, which is my absolute favorite menu for Xfce. Big thanks to Spatry over at his channel, Spatry's Cup of Linux, for turning me on to that one. The whisker menu for Xfce is definitely the best one out there. Quite customizable. You can even resize it to however you want just by clicking a little thing. It's very nice. But like I said, that's one of the big things I changed. I got this menu. It's nice because you can click on it, just start typing, and it'll give you your results. If I want to type a document, Abiword. If I want to, take photos and videos with my webcam, I can select cheese and it just start typing it. It'll take me right there. That's really nice. One of the things I did notice that is one of Voyager Linux downfalls is that in whisker menu they do not allow the whisker menu to access the settings. If you want to mess with the settings, you have to actually go to settings, which is there, or also in the Xfce menu, there's a button for it too. So you have to go in here, and then you can mess with the settings from here. But you can't do it from the whisker menu. You couldn't just look up the words. So you can see this. It says display. These are your display settings. Things like that. Now, if I wanted to do that, I can't just look it up in the whisker menu, unfortunately. It's not too much of a hassle to deal with, but at the same time, I can see it would be inconvenience for some people, and that might turn people off. But it is what it is, and it takes some getting used to. And in my opinion, once you get used to it, it's worth it. It's a nice little distro. It's just it takes a little time to get used to. I'm going to run you down through the settings here real quick. Now that just because I've got it open. Appearance settings. This is your standard appearance settings. Your color styles, your icon, your different icons that you've got, your fonts, and different toolbar style, which I believe, yes, toolbar style is this. It will change different various settings with this Xfce toolbar there. You can also select different event sounds for different things. If the distro is set up to make a sound when you click on something, then this will allow that to happen. Similar things like that. I'll go back to all settings. Desktop. If I were to click this, would take me to the exact same thing. If I right-click the desktop and click Desktop Settings, and take me to this window, that's exactly what it is. I've got this open. I want to just enlighten you a little bit on another one of Voyager Linux downfalls. You can set the wallpaper, but as soon as you switch desktops, the wallpaper will change back to the default wallpaper. The default wallpaper, in my opinion, is not a good looking wallpaper at all. It is very, very specific to Voyager Linux and can get rather annoying, in my opinion. The only way to change this, I've found, and make it permanent, is to right-click on the desktop, Voyager Wall, click on Voyager Wall, which is your background, your wallpaper. You click on it. You want to click Themes, click OK, and Themes per Sol. I'm guessing they just didn't finish typing it, or there was a typo or something. I don't know, but I know what it means. I'll click OK. Now, initially, this will say no themes. There are no themes installed. I created one. You have to go in and create one. What you're doing when you create a theme in this, just so you know, is you are basically the theme is just the set of different wallpapers for different places that you can go in the desktop. But when you create a theme, you're giving it its different wallpapers for the different places you can go in the desktop environment. So you have to select a desktop wallpaper for each workspace, for different events that are possible within each workspace, which is kind of, it's nice to have that level of personalization, but at the same time, it can be frustrating to have to figure out how to do that. One of the things I did find out about Voyager Wall, which is kind of nice, is you can click Terminal, click OK. I believe, yep, if you click Terminal, it will make half of your wallpaper a terminal window, which I found really cool. This is especially useful if you have two monitors going at the same time. When I'm not shooting screencasts, I have this hooked up to two different monitors, and I can run back and forth between the two. And this is really nice to have open on one of the two monitors, the one that I'm not working on primarily, so that if I need to type a command into the terminal, I can just go over to the next display and run that command. I do not like it there while I'm trying to just use the computer, though. So I'm going to go back to my themes, select my theme, click OK. I should just get rid of this. Maybe it won't. Oh, I have to close it. That's why. Okay. Now that I've got this set back up, I can go back into my settings and run back through those. File manager, configure the Thunar file manager. Not much to say. Pretty self-explanatory. Go in and tweak it if you want. Language support, lots of different languages. Apparently they don't have the English one worked out completely, but it's good enough for a French distro. Good enough for an English-speaking person to get through and understand what's going on. Add or remove application from the main menu, which is that Xfce menu that I got rid of, so I don't have to worry about that. Notifications. Can customize how notifications appear on your screen if they do at all. You can turn them off from this, and I might consider doing that, considering that I can't really read them because they're in French anyway, but if it got to the point where it bothered me, I could go in there and turn off the notifications. Orange preferences, this is a calendar. You can change the settings in your calendar, you get your panel settings, preferred applications, your screensaver, theme configuration. You can tweak the theme that you have just about any which way, so that's nice. Window manager, I can configure the different window behaviors and shortcuts. Really similar. I think this is the exact same thing as the Thunar thing too, this thing. So yeah, I think it's the same thing. One of the things that was nice to have was the window manager tweaks. Now you select here. Now I don't mess too much with these. You can if you want to. I choose not to. Compositor is the big thing that I go with. You see how my my window becomes a little bit transparent when I drag it? That is because of my window manager tweak. Compositor turned on with the opacity turned down when I'm moving it, which I find kind of cool. Doesn't use up hardly any extra memory, so that's nice. That's a nice little feature. Workspaces, of course, the 4 different workspaces you've got going on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think is how that's labeled. But under the hardware section of settings, we have the additional drivers, Bluetooth manager, the disk manager, display manager, keyboard manager, mouse and touchpad manager, network connections, power, printer, removable drives and media, blah blah blah, standard system settings. Underneath system we have accessibility, boot repair. This is really nice if you've just installed a Windows partition and then installed a Linux partition, because the Windows partition will not boot directly after a Linux install usually. The only way to fix this is to run boot repair, and it should do it automatically for you. If it doesn't, there are some live CDs that you can download and burn and boot from that will repair your boot process for free, and you don't want to have to worry about anything. Firewall configuration, I don't really worry about it. Linux isn't really hardly at all vulnerable to viruses, so unless you're really trying to get a virus, you shouldn't have that problem. Gparted, that's a partition manager. Not a difficult one to use. This is my personal favorite one. It's really quite powerful and really very self-explanatory, so you don't have to experiment and look around and try and figure it out. Grub Customizer basically just lets you customize your bootloader. Grub 2, that's what I have on here. Install Release. Install this system permanently on your hard disk. This is where I'm guessing this is left over from the live CD. That's my guess, because obviously it's installed. But the MIME type editor, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but since I don't use it, I'm not really worried about it. The OS uninstaller, I'm gonna guess this is probably for if you have a, yes, I think that's what it is. If you have two partitions, one being specifically one being Windows and one being Linux, this is the tool you would use to get rid of the Windows partition and give that space back to Linux. They're a kind of clever way to encourage you to get rid of Windows altogether. Under Session and Startup, this is where you would go to add applications that you want to run when your computer starts up. So that's a nifty little tool to have. The Software Updater, of course, that'll notify you when you have updates that need to go through, and it'll update your software for you. Not really all that difficult, just need a password, click OK, and it'll run. Software and Updates, this is where you go to configure the sources for installable software and updates. This is where you would tweak your repositories, add and remove them, and other things like that. So that's nice to have right out here in the open where you can find it. Time and date, I believe you can change the settings from here too. Yes, I think you can. Properties, and it would give you the same thing. So get rid of that. Time and date settings are right there. Users and groups. This gives you the option to edit your personal information. Now, obviously, mine are blurred because you don't need to know exactly who I am, but that's beside the point. Under Other, you have the backup tool, which is nice to, if you ever lose anything, you always have a backup. Cover Glubus, which will go and fill in any blank album covers that you might have on your media player. It's a nice little tool. I personally don't use it. I don't mess with my music settings from here. I usually use my MacBook to put music on my iPod, but Linux can do it pretty darn well. I just haven't bothered with it. Input method, basically select the keyboard that you're using, what language, what it's from, basic keyboard settings. KDE system settings, if you've got any KDE components. I believe I do have KDE based workspace installed on here for some experimenting purposes, which is why this is here. You may or may not find it there depending on the different things that you have installed on your system. But keyboard input methods, you can adjust methods for keyboard input. I think that is for hotkeys and things like that, which oftentimes, often enough, will work by default with Linux anyway, just because it goes in and it figures out what the button is supposed to do, and then it just does it, which is really nice. But if, in case they don't work, you can add your own custom keystrokes to do specific things and other things like that from this menu. Onboard settings. Onboard is an on-screen keyboard, so that if you don't feel like reaching over with your hand and typing on an actual keyboard, you can use the onboard keyboard, which will just throw up a keyboard and you can click on it to type and not have to use the physical one. And then the settings editor, you can graphical settings editor for Xfconf, which is like your gconf or your dconf for Xfce. So there's that. There's the settings manager. I don't think there's too much to go through other than what's installed on here. A lot of stuff comes with this. Under accessories, all the standard stuff that would come with a distro. The standard stuff plus cover glubus. I added Docky. Mousepad is the simple text editor. That's a really lightweight text editor that will load up really, really quickly. Onboard, there's your on-screen keyboard. I don't know if that's gonna. Yep, there it is. There's your on-screen keyboard. So if you don't feel like typing, you can use the on-screen keyboard. Global time manager. Plank is right here. Plank is the dock that I removed. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is the dock that I removed because it was just too simple for me. It could very well work for you. I just prefer something else. Take a screenshot. That's nice if you get lost. Synapse. Search everything that is, I believe, the same. That this is this. This application is this search tool. And then the terminal emulator. That's your terminal. VirtualBox, that allows you to run different virtual machines in there. That's nice. XFBurn, a very powerful disk burning tool, and your wallpaper changing settings. Under games, Mines, and Sudoku, pretty standard. Could have more, but you can easily get them through the Ubuntu Software Center, which is here, and also can be found in the menu. Under graphics, you get Darktable, which is a photo editing and organization tool. You get the document viewer, the GIMP image editor. This is the one I use. It's very similar to Photoshop, except it's free, and in my opinion, it's easier to use. Gthumb, it's like iPhoto almost. You can go in and edit, view, and organize your photos, other things like that. M-Comics, a viewer for comic books. I would never use that, but I'm sure it could come in handy for a select number of people out there. Your image viewer here, your simple scanner. Pretty standard in graphics too. Underneath internet here, we have Dropbox. I installed that. I use it a lot for keeping my files in the cloud, so I can switch between distros, do some distro hopping, which is something I do love to do. So we've got Dropbox, Firefox, browse the web with Firefox, my recommended browser. It can do a whole heck of a lot. If you have an older computer, though, I might recommend that you go to Chrome or Chromium because it's lighter weight. Firefox is a little heavy nowadays, but it's a very powerful web browser, and I do enjoy using it. Pigeon internet messaging, IM, other things like that. I don't use this personally, but I've heard it's a nice program, put together well, and people who do use it generally have a good experience with it. So if you want to do some instant messaging, open up Pigeon and see what it's all about. Pigeon, or Poly, my bad. Let me see. Manage multiple columns of multiple Twitter accounts. That's interesting. Never seen that before. I bet that would be pretty nice. So you can watch several different Twitter feeds all at the same time and tweet from all of them. That's actually kind of cool. I might have to look into that. Underneath that, we have Thunderbird Mail, which is the Mozilla Mail tool, which is similar to Outlook, Microsoft Outlook, but in my opinion, it's much better. You can do a lot more with it, and it's much more flexible. But that's your mail manager. Transmission for all your BitTorrent needs. And XChat IRC. That's nice to have if you have problems with your computer. If you're especially running Linux, go over to Spatry's YouTube channel. He has excellent videos posted. I think he's got upwards of 450 videos up there, all informational on Linux that would be very, very helpful to you. He will give you the information you need to get on XChat with him, and I can also get you on XChat with me if you would like me to. I can help a little bit. I'm not an expert. I'm nowhere near as good as Spatry is, but I can help some. Not as much as he could, but I could help some. Spatry is in my opinion, he is the master at most things Linux. I know there are people that know a lot more than he does, but for how little time he's been using it, it amazes me how much he's gotten done. But yeah, go over to his channel. He's got some excellent videos. That's where I go when I need information, and if I'm stumped, that's the first place I check, because he's usually got something posted on how to fix it. So yeah, just go over to his channel and check it out. Alright, underneath multimedia, we have the motherload, audio recording, cheese, webcam booth, Clementine plays music, format junkie, converts your media files, FreeTux TV, watch TV from within Linux, Minitube takes you right to YouTube. This is kind of cool. Go into Minitube. It should load up here if it's going to cooperate. I haven't opened it in a while. Just look, Google, not Google, but search any YouTube video you want. I'm going to use Spatry as my example here. And it will show you all of the... See? Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of Spatry videos. Show 10 more. Obviously, go through and browse all of his videos, or whatever channel you decide to go to. But this is directly linked to YouTube, so you can watch all the videos to your heart's content with Minitube instead of having to actually go and do it on YouTube. Underneath Minitube, we have OpenShot Video Editor. That is what I use for creating my videos on YouTube. I'm looking into getting into Kdenlive. I've heard that's a very, very powerful application. I've worked with it a little bit, but it's less comprehensive than OpenShot. It's a little more difficult to use, so I'll have to go and learn that, where I didn't have to learn OpenShot. OpenShot's pretty self-explanatory, so both are good. So if you want to use video editing tools, put anything on YouTube or anything like that, use both of them. They're both pretty good. Underneath that, we have Parole Media Player, Play Your Media. Pitivi Video Editor. I'm not sure that I like Pitivi. It's a little too simple for me compared to OpenShot and Kdenlive, but I guess if you're just creating a really, really simple video, it's all you would need, and I wouldn't worry about it. Pulse Audio. Equalizer and volume control. These are volume settings. Now they're not, I don't believe they're the same settings as this here, but they are similar. They're just more exclusive to Pulse Audio versus the control over both Pulse and ALSA from the other menu. We have underneath those the radio tray, which allows you to listen to the radio on your Linux system, the VLC media player, Vocho Screen, which is what I'm screencasting with at this very moment, and XFBurn, your CD and DVD burning application, which is very, very powerful. I like it a lot. Alright, in the Office section, we have Abiword, Dictionary, Document Viewer, Genumeric, Orange Calendar, and Orange Global Time. Interestingly enough, they didn't have LibreOffice installed by default, which is okay because you can get it from the Ubuntu Software Center pretty darn easily. Abiword is a very, very good text editor. You can compose, edit, and view documents in almost any format. I mean, if you are opening a document, if you're opening a document from pretty much any document editor or document creator, Abiword will easily be able to handle the format. I have yet to find one that Abiword won't work with. I have a theory that maybe they won't open pages, .pages applications, or not application, but documents, because of how the Mac system packages their quote-unquote docs. But I'm not sure. I'm absolutely not sure, and it very well could. It wouldn't surprise me, really, because Abiword is such a good platform for editing and doing your documents that it wouldn't surprise me. Dictionary. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's a dictionary. Document viewer, a lot like Adobe Reader, just different. Genumeric is pretty much the same thing as Excel, just lighter weight and open source. So that's good. Orange Calendar, that's a calendar, and this is your clock. in the system settings. Lots of different tools in here. This is where your Synaptic Package Manager would be with the package that you want. But that's what that would be. These are all your system tools. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them, but you can look at them. They're all the basic system settings that come. The only extra ones that I've seen, GW Package Installer is an excellent package installer for Debian-based distros that use the .deb package format. It's excellent for installing those. The OS uninstaller, see, little eraser with the Windows logo, so I think I was right on that one. The Synaptic Package Manager, Time Shift, that's your restore utility that would allow you to just basically, quote-unquote, go back in time on your system and, go to the most recently working system. And then you have VirtualBox, which everybody knows what VirtualBox is. If you don't, then Google it, because it's really cool. It allows you to run different operating systems within the one that you're currently running. So that's very useful. But anyway, those are the applications that come with Voyager Linux. I was pretty impressed with this. I had seen it originally on Spatry's channel, and I decided to check it out because I've been distro hopping. I mean, I went from Ubuntu 13.10 to Manjaro 8.7 to OpenSUSE 13.1, back to Manjaro, over to now Voyager Linux, and I'm so far liking Voyager Linux just because it's a little bit of a challenge to figure some things out, and I know there are people out there like that like the same things that I do as far as distro hopping goes. And so if you're one of those people, absolutely go to Voyager Linux and check it out. It's well put together. I've never had a system error come up. I've never had it tell me that anything's gone wrong, other than the occasional French word. It's pretty darn good, solid-ish distribution. I have never had a problem with it, and so far I'm not anticipating that I will have a problem with it. So if you're like me, check it out. Take a look. That's all I've got for you right now on Voyager Linux. I'll probably have some more tutorials up within the next week or so on how to do things in Xfce, how to do things in Voyager Linux specifically, and other pretty darn basic YouTube videos on Linux. So be sure to check back, like, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz. And while you're at it, you might as well hop on over to Spatry's page. I know it sounds like I'm advertising for him, but I really do like his channel that much. There is so much good information over there. So just head on over to his channel after browsing through mine, and I guess we'll see you next time I post a video. Thank you for watching.